Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now, we are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injuries have been moved, 61 people are confirmed dead, and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
For WION, World is One.
Violent crime rate in South Africa shoots up, igniting fear and concerns among the major cities of the country, even as authorities uncovered illegal military-style training camps with 95 Libyans in Mpumalanga. The Democratic Republic of Congo releases 420 prisoners from its largest and most overcrowded prison after images of dire conditions posted to social media by a recently freed journalist sparked widespread outcry. And Cape Town talent shines in graphic reboot of classic opera Wild of Africa at these times on WION.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Charna.
And I'm Hem Kaursara. And on the show today, in the escalating tensions in West Asia, Israel claims to have killed Hezbollah's most senior military commander in Beirut. This after the heightened spectre of an all-out war after the Golan Heights strikes on Saturday that Israel blames on Hezbollah. Diplomatic efforts have continued to ease tensions to avert a wider war. How will things pan out in the region? That's something we will be exploring on the show today.
Also on the show, we shift focus to Venezuela. Protests continue in Venezuela amid allegations of election fraud. The opposition has released what it claims is proof that the election was in fact rigged. Nicolas Maduro election victory has been hailed. Well, he has led to widespread unrest in Venezuela, and these are violent unrests. We will bring you the latest from Caracas. Let's get started with the headlines.
Israel's military claims it has killed Hezbollah's most senior commander, Fouad Shukr, in an airstrike in Beirut in retaliation for cross-border rocket attack that killed 12 youngsters in Golan Heights.
United States carries out strike in Iraq in self-defense hours after Israel strikes Iran-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon. Strike reportedly carried out due to threat to US-led coalition forces in the region.
Venezuelan armed forces and police detained protesters in capital Caracas as demonstrations continue against President Maduro's poll victory. Demands grow to publish full result of the elections.
Violent clashes break out in northern England's Southport after a mass stabbing at Taylor Swift-themed dance event claimed the lives of 3 children. Crowd damages police vehicles and set it alight.
Russia launches overnight drone attack on Ukrainian capital and its surrounding area. Blasts heard in what sounded like air defense systems engaged in repelling an air attack.
Death toll in Kerala's Wayanad landslides rises to 151. Search and rescue operations continue for the second day as 98 people are still missing.
Helicopters deployed to battle the Nixon fire raging in Riverside County in the United States, California. But rough terrain and high temperatures are hindering the efforts. Over 2,700 acres burned in the wildfire.
Spain's dream team of Rafael Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz reach the quarter-finals of the Olympic men's tennis doubles. The duo beats Dutchman Talon Griekspoor and Wesley Koolhof at Roland Garros.
Thousands of people have taken to the streets in Venezuela to protest against what they call President Nicolas Maduro's fraudulent election win.
Now, the protests, which the government announced as an attempted coup, began after the election board declared on Monday that Maduro had won a third term with 51% of the votes, defying all exit polls. However, the opposition says that 80% of vote tallies to which it has access shows its contestant, Edmundo Gonzalez, had more than twice as many votes as Maduro.
No aceptamos el chantaje de que defender la verdad es violencia. Violencia es ultrajar la verdad. Violencia es pretender desconocer la soberanía popular que ya decidió el pasado domingo. No crean que nadie va a aceptar ahora, no crean que vienen a ajustar o a cambiar actas. Las actas originales oficiales ya las conocemos y el mundo entero las ha visto.
Footage shared on social networks showed protesters tearing down statues of Chavez in several Venezuelan cities. According to reports, at least 5 statues were destroyed during the anti-government protests.
The clashes have resulted in the death of at least 11 people, and according to Venezuelan authorities, at least 749 people have been detained amid recent protests. The detainees are being charged with offences such as public intimidation, incitement to hatred, and in most severe cases, terrorism.
The renewed instability, it's brought divided international reaction. In the latest, US President Joe Biden spoke with Brazilian President Lula da Silva, where they agreed that the Venezuelan government must quickly publish the vote tallies of Sunday's contested election and end the crisis in the country. The United States has further said that it is mulling fresh sanctions on individuals linked to the election unless there was greater transparency about the vote.
We have serious concerns that the result announced does not reflect the will or the votes of the Venezuelan people. It's critical that every vote be counted fairly and transparently, that election officials immediately share information with the opposition and independent observers without delay, and that the electoral authorities publish the detailed tabulation of votes.
Meanwhile, Brazil's government on Monday hailed what it called a peaceful election day in Venezuela and said that it was closely monitoring the vote count. A slew of Latin American leaders have also cast a doubt on the election results, demanding for a complete review of the poll results. They include Argentina, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Guatemala, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, the Dominican Republic and Uruguay.
In response, the Venezuelan government has announced the withdrawal of all diplomatic staff from the embassies of these Latin American nations.
Meanwhile, Copa Airlines on Tuesday said that Venezuela had decided to temporarily suspend all commercial flights between Panama and Venezuela beginning on Wednesday evening.
All right, joining us live for more on this from Caracas, Venezuela, we have with us journalist and political analyst Diego Sakira. Thank you so much for joining us on World DNA.
Thank you for having me.
Right, so it's a pleasure to have you with us. I want to begin by asking you, one, what is the situation on ground right now? And I also wanted to understand that Maduro's camp has declared the ongoing violent protests as a coup in progress. Do you think the violent protests, the unrest could lead to any sort of a change in regime?
I hardly believe that's the case right now, at least at this point in time. There are many patterns that actually prove what the president is saying, especially the highly targeted attacks and also the focus on the protest, which describes something that it goes beyond the usual. Also because, for example, today is a day that we haven't had the same hype we had yesterday, so that also tells you some things. So in that sense, I feel it's really hard for it to happen at this point.
Mr. Sakira, how important is a change of government in Venezuela for the US? And I'd just like you to weigh in on this, given that you are there in Caracas, you obviously understand this much better than any foreign report can inform the rest of the world. But given that a third of the population has already migrated from Venezuela in recent years, and that's again as per reports, how important is it for the US at this point?
Well, it's still very important. I mean, Venezuela is still an energy powerhouse that has been sanctioned and regime change attempted, sorry for the construction, for the last 10 years, 11 years, even if during the whole Maduro government, and we can go even further back. But so that describes the interest in that sense. Although in this case, for example, energy markets are where if you follow if you see reports, for example, from the Wall Street Journal, not a friend of Venezuela, talking about they rather prefer a government of Nicolás Maduro because of stability. That's how complicated an outlier and radical could the opposite candidate be. So that also describes that perhaps not everyone sees the same thing from the U.S. at this point. We can see even more militant positions from, for example, congressmen and senators than from the language that the White House is using right now. But of course, it would mean a lot because it has been one of his main interests in a very long time. It would mean the realignment of an strategic access precisely to these resources, and also the center of their interest. And also you have the fact that you would also discipline a project that went against the current, against the hegemonic current in the region.
All right, so I also want to understand, of course, you've seen the international reactions that are pouring in. Venezuelan government said that it's withdrawing its diplomatic staff from 7 Latin American countries that questioned the election victory of Maduro. Can Maduro government afford to isolate itself on the global stage like this?
Well, it has been isolated before. I mean, it's not the first time we go through this, and precisely for many of those countries. Remember that back from 2017 until 2020, if I'm not, 2020, there was the Lima group that actually was composed by almost the same countries that are doing it right now. So this is not a first one for Venezuela either. And it still found a way to connect with other countries and trade in a very complicated context. Still, things have loosened up a bit, but this isolation not even didn't work for them. It didn't work for business at all. So this kind of put things into perspective. Who's actually isolating who currently? things can go to normal quite easily once we are over this part of the situation. I'm pretty sure about that. But this wouldn't be the first time that we have that kind of foreign pressure.
Foreign pressure. It's interesting you mentioned that. All right. Thank you so much for joining in. That was Diego Sakira joining us from Caracas. Pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you.
All right, our principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibbal also spoke to Panama's Foreign Minister Ja Martinez V about the contentious election results and the ongoing agitation in its neighboring country. Listen to this.
Are you speaking to other countries in the region about what has happened in terms of the election results in Venezuela? And have you spoken to the Americans as well? We have seen comments by the US Vice President Kamala Harris as well. She has made a tweet as well. Any comments on that?
Well, we respect each country's decision about the current situation in Venezuela. I can tell you that we in Latin America have a group of foreign ministers. About 9 countries are in agreement with Panama position. Probably their statements can be a little bit different, but the aim is the same. We need to have access to the documents that support the results, and we need to have independent auditing of the results. Until then, we will maintain our current position. Democracy is a principle that cannot be negotiated. Our president is committed to the rule of law. Our president is committed to transparent elections, specifically after he experienced some irregularities during our process in May. So Panama must be an ally of democracy. Your country is the biggest democracy in the world. You just had an excellent democratic exercise. 100 million of people went voting. The transparency of your election is an example to the world. So that's why we have taken this position in regard to the Venezuelan election. We need transparency. We need Venezuelans to know the full results, the transparency of the election to be made public, and then we can, move forward in different directions if the results are made public. So far, they haven't. So our position is to support the democratic value of Venezuela and to support the full transparency of the elections.
Israel has claimed to have killed Hezbollah's most senior military commander in its strike on Lebanon's capital, Beirut.
Hezbollah and Lebanese authorities have not yet confirmed the death. At least 3 people were killed in the Israeli strike targeting the Hezbollah commander, according to the Lebanese Health Ministry. As per reports, 2 children and a woman were killed in the strike and at least 74 people were injured.
بهمن غاب على مستشفى بهمن.
The IDF have said that the attack killed Fuad Shukr, the most senior Hezbollah military commander, but his condition is unclear. Media reports have quoted Lebanese government officials and Hezbollah sources saying that Shukr survived the attack. IDF says he was the right-hand man to Hassan Nasrallah.
He was a senior terrorist who has the blood of the Israelis and many others on his hands. One day after Hamas massacre on October 7th, Hezbollah joined Hamas in attacking Israelis. Since then, Hezbollah has fired thousands of rockets, missiles, and UAVs at Israel over the last 9.5 months, killing Israeli civilians and soldiers, and forcing 60,000 Israelis to evacuate from their homes.
The IDF has maintained that Israel isn't looking for war but is prepared for it. The strike came after a rocket attack in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights that killed 12 children. Israel blames Hezbollah for the attack, but the group has denied that it was behind the strike.
The United States has backed Israel's retaliation. Washington has asserted that its commitment to Israel's security is ironclad and unwavering against all Iran-backed threats, including Hezbollah. Vice President Kamala Harris has also said that she unequivocally supports Israel's right to defend itself.
I unequivocally support Israel's right to remain secure and to defend the security of Israel. What we know in particular is, yes, it has the right to defend itself against the terrorist organization, which is exactly what Hezbollah is. But all of that being said, we still must work on a diplomatic solution to end these attacks, and we will continue to do that work. Thank you.
The United States says Shukr played a central role in the 1983 bombing of U.S. Marine barracks in Beirut, which killed 241 U.S. military personnel. According to the U.S. government's Rewards for Justice website, a bounty of up to $5 million was put on his head.
Meanwhile, the Iranian embassy in Lebanon has denounced the Israeli strike on Beirut, calling it cowardly and sinful Israeli aggression that claimed the lives of a number of martyrs. The Iran-backed Houthis and Hamas militant groups have also condemned the strike and declared solidarity with Lebanon. UN Special Coordinator has expressed concern over the strike, saying there is no such thing as a military solution.
In a statement, she has called on both Israel and Lebanon to explore all diplomatic avenues to return to the cessation of hostilities. This attack is now the largest Israeli escalation against Hezbollah since tensions erupted on the 8th of October. Remember, the last time Israel struck the Lebanese capital was in January, when it killed a senior figure from Hamas. With Israel vowing to punish Hezbollah for the Golan strikes, and both Hezbollah and Iran warning Netanyahu, fears of an all-out conflict are at an all-time high. And for more on this, our correspondent Jody Cohen has sent us this report. Listen to this.
So we're hearing the sound of planes going over ahead. This is following the explosion in the Hezbollah stronghold in Beirut, where the target was senior Hezbollah commander Fouad Shukr. Now, the IDF has confirmed the strike and said that the commander was a senior advisor to Hezbollah head Hassan Nasrallah, that he sat on the Jihad Council, Hezbollah's top military body, and was behind the attack at Majd al-Shams, which, remember, killed 12 children and injured dozens more children who were playing or watching soccer. Now, Hezbollah has claimed that Shukr survived the attack, although Saudi news is reporting that he was struck. There are no changes of instructions to Israeli civilians, but we are likely to expect a Hezbollah response at some point. And remember, an anonymous Lebanese official had said that Hezbollah was moving some of its smart precision-guided missiles to use if necessary. Now, the Lebanese foreign minister has urged Hezbollah to carry out a proportionate response. The Biden administration had said that Israel has every right to respond to the deadly Hezbollah attack. They had suggested the fears of an all-out war between Hezbollah and Israel were exaggerated. Israel has said it doesn't want to see a war, but it does want Hezbollah to stop the rockets and to retreat to the Litani River, which is the UN-recognized boundary between Lebanon and Israel. Hamas, the Houthis, Iran and Russia have all condemned Israel for this strike, and it remains to be seen if we might see a further response from Israel and also how Hezbollah would respond.
Violent confrontations erupted between the demonstrators and law enforcement agencies near a mosque in Southport.
This after the stabbing incident that killed 3 children and injured 5 others during a Taylor Swift-themed event on Monday in New Southport.
In the latest, demonstrators clashed with the police outside a mosque in northwest England, hurling bottles and stones at the police officers. Officials believe that the demonstrators are linked to the English Defence League, which is an extreme right-wing group.
Meanwhile, away from the violence, hundreds gathered for an emotional vigil to pay tribute to those killed in the attack. The 10-minute vigil held in the center of Southport ended with civic leaders laying flowers for the children killed in the attack.
It's hard to find the correct words to say with such a dreadful, horrendous time. And when I went over to lay some flowers, it hits you. It really, it gets you. You can't help but cry because of the outpouring of grief, the sadness, the fact that we're actually having to do that.
The officials have said that the attack was not linked to terrorism and that the suspect was born in the UK. In the latest, the police have arrested a 17-year-old youth on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. However, it is still searching for a motive of the mass stabbings in Southport.
UK Prime Minister Kiara visited the site of the attack and said the stabbing incident was awful and touches a nerve with the whole country.
I came here to pay my respects to the victims and families who are going through raw pain and grief that most of us can't imagine. I can't imagine as a dad myself. I think it touches a nerve with the whole country. It's awful to contemplate what happened, to hear for myself the experiences of the first responders, what they had to deal with. It's really hard to take in for anybody.
Singer Taylor Swift has also reacted to the incident, saying that she was completely in shock after a knife attack at a dance class themed around the US pop star.
Let's shift our focus now. During a rare joint Senate committee hearing on assassination attempt on Donald Trump, the acting director of US Secret Service, Ronald Rowe, agreed to the major security lapses that preceded the July 13th rally shooting.
Now, he also said that he was ashamed about the incident. Rowe testified before two Senate committees and said that he visited the outdoor rally site in Butler and reviewed the site.
Since my appointment as the acting director 1 week ago, I identified gaps in our security on July 13th and have implemented corrective actions. One of my first actions as acting director was traveling to the Butler Farm Show site to better understand how our protection failed. I went to the roof of the AGR building where the assailant fired shots, and I laid in a prone position to evaluate his line of sight. What I saw made me ashamed.
So far, the investigators have not discovered Crooks' motive, but in a testimony, FBI Deputy Director said that they found a social media account related to Crooks which reflected anti-Semitic and anti-immigration emotions.
Something just very recently uncovered that I want to share is a social media account which is believed to be associated with the shooter in about the 2019-2020 timeframe. There were over 700 comments posted from this account. Some of these comments, if ultimately attributable to the shooter, appear to reflect anti-Semitic and anti-immigration themes, to espouse political violence.
Of course, security lapses have been identified and the FBI is coming up with a timeline as well. And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Teherani has sent us this report. Listen to this.
Secret Service Acting Director Ronald Rowe expressed shame over the agency's handling of the assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. Rowe attributed failure to a quote-unquote lack of imagination and communication breakdown between local and state law enforcement. Now, rose criticism of the agency's handling of the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania may upset some officers who assisted at that rally. The incident's details remain unclear and contradictory due to conflicting accounts from multiple law enforcement agencies, leading to a confusing and often contentious blame game. The FBI, for its part, is investigating the shooter's motives and timeline, having conducted 460 interviews so far and seizing electronic media. Lawmakers on Tuesday questioned why the Secret Service official who approved the security perimeter wasn't fired, citing quote-unquote mission failure. And so this investigation continues. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
And with that, it's time now for a short break.
Don't go anywhere. Come right back. On the other side of the break, there are a lot of updates we will be bringing you from India. At least 151 people have died in landslides that hit Kerala's hilly Wayanad district. 481 people have been successfully rescued so far, and 3,069 have been shifted to safety at the moment. This, of course, we're tracking closely. Come right back for the full report.
In rising tensions in India's Kashmir Valley, heritage houses belonging to Kashmiri minority Hindu community were set on fire. The fires caused concerns and suspicion among the community. We'll get you all the details of this on the other side.
India's Global Voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
Welcome back to World DNA. Thank you so much for staying with us. Lots lined up for you on this side of the show. Let's start by looking at the headlines first.
Israel's military claims it has killed Hezbollah's most senior commander, Fuad Shukr, in an airstrike on Beirut, in retaliation for the cross-border rocket attack that killed 12 youngsters in Golan Heights.
The United States carries out strike in Iraq in self-defense hours after Israel strikes Iran-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon. Strike reportedly carried out due to the threat to US-led coalition forces.
Venezuelan armed forces and police detained protesters in capital Caracas as demonstrations continue against President Maduro's poll victory. Demands grow to publish full results of the elections.
Violent clashes break out in northern England's Southport after mass stabbings at a Taylor Swift-themed dance event claimed the lives of 3 children, crowd damages police vehicles and set it alight.
Russia launches overnight drone attack on Ukrainian capital and its surrounding area. Blasts heard in what sounded like air defense systems engaged in repelling an air attack.
Death toll due to landslides in Kerala's Wayanad district rises to 151. Search and rescue operations continue for the second day as 98 people are still missing. Total of 481 rescued so far.
Helicopters deployed to battle the Nixon fire, raging in Riverside County in United States, California. But rough terrain and high temperatures are challenging the efforts. Over 2,700 acres burned in the wildfire.
Spain's dream team of Rafael Nadal and Carlos Alcaraz reached the quarterfinals of the Olympic men's tennis doubles. The duo beats Dutchman Talon Griekspoor and Wesley Koolhof at Roland Garros.
We start by looking at the tragedy which has unfolded in Kerala. At least 151 people have now been declared dead. They have died in landslides that hit Kerala's hilly Wayanad district in India.
The death toll also includes children. As of now, 481 people have been successfully rescued and 3,069 have been shifted to safety. At least 98 are still feared trapped under the debris.
225 army personnel have been deployed in Wayanad for the rescue and search operation. Apart from that, 3 NDRF teams have also been deployed in 9 districts of Wayanad, and 1 NDRF team of 31 members is heading towards Kerala from Bengaluru. Additionally, a Navy team will arrive from Erimala. The Navy's help was requested for by the Chief Minister.
Now, the regions shown on your screens are among the areas affected and cut off by the landslides. District authorities are drawing up plans to airlift people from Mundakai area. According to the officials, many people were feared washed away as the landslide struck the hilly areas.
Prime Minister Modi assured the Kerala government. Prime Minister Modi assured the Kerala government of all possible assistance from the centre following landslides in parts of Wayanad. Here are some survivors who are recounting the horror and miraculous escape from the landslide.
According to district authorities, several families have been moved to the various camps or homes of their relatives in the wake of the landslides. Many areas have been cut off. The NDRF personnel are trying to reach those places for evacuations.
It's these cut-off areas which make one think further, because the death toll may not have been capped off here at 151. It has been mounting since yesterday, but there are still areas which are cut off, and that means the search and rescue operations need to continue to get to the last affected spots, and only then will one be able to be sure of the final death count which has come from this tragedy. This landslide, which occurred in the middle of the night, through the night. In fact, from 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., that's how it affected, and these areas were completely cut off. There was no electricity, and it's in the morning that the search and rescue operation in fact started.
All right, amid the increasing terror attacks in India's Kashmir Valley, heritage houses belonging to the Kashmiri minority Hindu community were set on fire.
The fire caused concerns and suspicions among the community. Some are alleging that the blaze was caused to threaten the entire community. The Jammu and Kashmir police have registered a case and are investigating the cause of the inferno. Investigations have started in the case. The forensic teams have taken samples and an FIR has also been registered.
A fire incident at a Kashmiri Pandit's house in Mutton area of Anantnag, which belongs to Sri Anandji Rajasthan, was reported. The moment we received the report, the SHO Mutton, along with the police party, reached the spot and the fire brigade was brought in. In around 1.5 hours, the fire was doused. The adjacent houses were also damaged due to the fire. Police brought the FSL teams and also took the CCTV footage of the area and have registered a case under Section 326. The investigation has started, and I want to assure that we have started a robust investigation and a senior officer is conducting it.
Apart from the Kashmiri Pandit community, multiple political groups of Jammu and Kashmir have called for a thorough investigation into the incident.
All right, next up, let's take a look at what's happening in technology. What's the latest? Well, let's start with a recent report which suggests that Delta Airlines plans to seek compensation from Microsoft and CrowdStrike after a global IT outage disrupted flights earlier this month. However, a CrowdStrike spokesperson said they are aware of the reports but have no knowledge of a lawsuit. On the 19th of July, a tech failure led to over 2,200 flight cancellations in the US. Delta, the slowest major US carrier to recover, has cancelled more than 6,000 flights, stranding hundreds of thousands of passengers. Analysts estimate the financial impact could be in the hundreds of millions of dollars. Last week, the US Transportation Department announced an investigation into Delta Airlines after the outage led flight cancellations.
Russia is planning to initiate its first international cryptocurrency payments by the end of the year as a way to circumvent Western sanctions. These sanctions have led to significant delays in transactions with key trading partners. To address the issue, the lower house of the parliament is expected to pass a law this autumn that will permit Russian companies to use cryptocurrencies for international transactions. This new legislation aims to mitigate the delays and challenges posed by the current restrictions on using cryptocurrencies for payments within Russia. According to the central bank's governor, businesses are managing to find alternative solutions. However, the delays have resulted in longer supply chains and higher costs.
This is called Vero. This is a vacuum cleaner equipped robot dog designed by the Italian Institute of Technology in Geneva. This innovative robot uses AI and a camera system to detect and collect cigarette butts from the ground with vacuum attachments on each foot. The robot's algorithm enables it to identify its targets and navigate efficiently. Now, as per its makers, the robot has successfully managed to gather about 90% of cigarette butts in various environments. Looking ahead, Vero's creators believe its capabilities will expand to include picking up larger pieces of litter such as bottle caps and small plastic items as well.
Now we turn our attention to a resurgence in world trade, which has shaken off the impact of high inflation and borrowing costs.
Well, in July, manufacturers were able to keep running smoothly thanks to a rebound in worldwide consumer demand and exports. But is this a calm before the August tariff storm? Take a look at this next report.
This month, Bloomberg's trade tracker once again showed high readings. Just 2 out of 10 important measures of global commerce fell into the below normal territory. Leading the pack are export giants from Asia like Taiwan, Singapore, and South Korea. These countries are capitalizing on the surging demand for electronics and chips. As a result, big ports have remained active despite raising freight prices and ongoing problems in the Red Sea region. Overcoming the impact of rising borrowing costs and inflation and the slowdown in the Eurozone economy, global trade has been steadily increasing this year. But will the revival last? The U.S. election and the growing number of countries caught in a trade war make tariffs a potentially divisive issue. The present surge in commerce is partially caused by the rush to import goods before the higher U.S. tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, batteries, solar panels, and medical products come into effect on August 1st. The anticipated yearly imports of around $18 billion could be impacted by the tariff increase. The European Union has imposed provisional tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, and Beijing has threatened retaliation on agricultural items, aircraft, and large engine cars imported by the EU. U.S. officials have not spared Mexico either. To keep China from dodging greater duties, they have imposed new taxes on steel and aluminum that do not originate from Mexico. Global commerce is expected to face even more severe challenges. If elected, Donald Trump has spoken of imposing a 60% tariff on Chinese imports and a 10% levy on all other countries' exports. Companies in the automotive industry have already begun to re-evaluate their manufacturing strategies in response to the complex web of tariffs and threats. Experts at Bloomberg Economics say U.S.-China economic ties were significantly reduced during Trump's first term in the White House. If he wins a second term, his plans could rupture those ties entirely. They added a 60% tariff on Chinese imports alone would shrink a $575 billion trade pipeline to practically nothing. Just when supply chain issues were starting to look healthy, trade barriers risk another disruption. Business Bureau Report, WION World is One.
The United States has hit a new debt milestone. The country's debt surpassed $35 trillion for the first time.
This staggering figure represents a significant increase from just 6 months ago when the debt crossed the $34 trillion mark.
Now, the rapid accumulation of debt is a cause for concern as it indicates a widening gap between government spending and revenue. The Treasury Department has warned of a potential cash buffer decline towards the end of the year, adding to the financial pressures facing the nation.
What is debt? Essentially, it is the money borrowed by an entity, in this case, that's the United States government, to finance its spending. When government expenditures exceed revenue, it must borrow to cover that shortfall. The US government borrows by issuing treasury bonds, notes, and bills. These are essentially sold to investors, individuals, banks, and other governments.
The interest paid on these bonds adds to the overall cost of borrowing. US currently spends about $2 billion per day on interest payments. To put the total debt in context, the $35 trillion equals the combined GDP values of China, Germany, Japan, India, and the United Kingdom.
As the government spends more on interest payments for its debt, there's less money available for essential services like education, healthcare, and infrastructure. Additionally, growing debt can lead to inflation, which erodes the purchasing power of one's paycheck. Higher taxes may be necessary to lower debt, impacting households' finances directly. The United States also risks its status as a safe haven for investments. The debt surge puts pressure on the administration to cut down welfare spending and find ways to increase that revenue. And failure to do so could lead to a debt crisis with severe economic consequences.
Getting you the latest from the Paris Olympics, Simone Biles led the United States to victory in the women's artistic gymnastics team final, kicking off a redemption tour with her 5th Olympic gold medal.
This is the 27-year-old's first gold since the Rio 2016 Games. Biles withdrew from several events in Tokyo 3 years ago due to the twisties, a disorienting mental block. For the world's most decorated gymnast, this victory marks a triumphant return to the top. Biles helped the United States secure 11th Olympic medal in the women's team gymnastics event with a standout performance on all 4 apparatus. The United States finished with a total of 171.296. They were 5.802 points ahead of second-placed Italy. This is Italy's first women's Olympic team medal since the 1928 Games. Brazil claimed the bronze, their first ever medal in the discipline.
At the beginning of the day, I started off with therapy this morning, so that was super exciting. And then I told her I was feeling calm and ready, and that's kind of exactly what happened. But after I finished vault, I was relieved. I was like, whew, because at least no flashbacks or anything. But I did feel a lot of relief, and as soon as I landed vault, I was like, oh yeah, we're going to do this.
And her personality, definitely shows through. Like, she's such an amazing person. I think the talk that we had yesterday definitely helped all of us come together tonight, and it just made it so much more special. So being able to train with her is amazing, and she's somebody that I'll always look up to.
Simone Biles has qualified for 4 more finals in Paris. She will be seen competing in the all-around final on Thursday, followed by the vault final and the floor and beam finals in the coming days.
An Indian shooter, Manu Bhaker, has further etched her name in the history books at the Paris Olympics. The 22-year-old won the bronze medal in the 10-meter air pistol mixed team event, along with Sarbjot Singh.
Well, of course, this is to become the first Indian to win 2 medals at the same Olympic Games. The 22-year-old spoke to WION sports editor Digvijay Singh Deo, who's soaking in all the action right there in Chartreux, to reflect on her unprecedented achievement. Listen to this.
Before I start, can you show both your Olympic medals like you did the other day? I see the smile on your face is much bigger today. First Indian to win, you've heard that a lot. Have you realized, it's been 4-5 hours since you've won now, have you realized what you've achieved?
Firstly, thank you so much. Yes, I have realized it. The moment it was done, I realized that I am living my dream, and it's not like it's going to end here. Day before yesterday it was 1 medal, and today I'm wearing 2. So I'm grateful that I was able to do this, and I'm just merely following in the footsteps of my senior shooters, the women especially who were able to make it to the finals, but unfortunately could not do a podium finish. So this is to all the ladies that tried, but I'm just merely following their footsteps and trying my best.
There's 2 now. There possibly could be a 3rd, but I won't talk about that at the moment. When you win at the Olympics, everyone sort of comes in, wants to celebrate with you, but the road to an Olympic medal is very tough. You've gone through a very tough journey over the last couple of years. Today you're the toast of India, but not many know what you went through, Manu. Do you remember that? Is that struggle which leads up to this? Is that something which you savor now, that I came through that?
I definitely cannot forget the Tokyo times. So it was a very difficult time for me. I was expecting some good show, but it did not turn out to be so well for me. And that was the time when I was like, you know what, I want to win the next one at least. I will do it for myself, for my people. But I will put in all the efforts that I have in myself and everything that I have. So I was just determined. But 2022 also showed me a rough time. Then 2023, as me and Jaspal sir started to work together, I think the path was paved then, and I'm grateful that the journey of 1 year only it has been now after the reconciling moment. But it has been great, and what can I say? I can never forget Tokyo, but I think this will help me not cry about Tokyo.
Shifting our focus now, Indian actor Kiara Advani turns 33 today as the celebrity receives best wishes and greetings from her friends and fans from around the world. We take a look at her project lineup for the upcoming months. Take a look.
Bollywood star Kiara Advani, who was born Alia Advani, made her Bollywood debut in 2014 with Fugly. But the actor only got noticed with her role in the 2016 biopic MS Dhoni, The Untold Story, alongside late actor Sushant Singh Rajput and Disha Patni. It has been since then that Kiara has not looked back and has created a niche for herself. From Good News to Kabir Singh to Sher Shah, Kiara has now established herself as a reliable actor in the industry. She was last seen in the 2023 Satya Prem Ki Katha opposite Kartik Aaryan. Though Advani has not made a major release this year, she has a lot of projects in her kitty. And the most exciting of the lot is Dawn 3. Earlier this year in February, Farhan Akhtar officially announced that Kiara Advani would be joining the cast of his upcoming film. She is set to play the female lead opposite Ranveer Singh, who will take the franchise forward as the next Dawn. Next on the list is filmmaker S. Shankar's upcoming film. Tentatively titled RC-15, the movie also features Ram Charan. It is one of the most eagerly awaited releases in South Indian cinema. Advani will also star in War 2, a sequel to the 2019 action thriller War. The movie will see Hrithik Roshan reprising his role as spy agent Kabir Singh. Though the dates for all the movies are not out yet, fans can't wait to watch their favourite Kiara Advani back on screen. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And with that, we call it a wrap on this edition of World DNA.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Come right back after the break. This is WION World is One for all your global updates.
The quest for an Olympic medal is sport's greatest pursuit. Over 10,000 sportspersons are descending on Paris to realize their dreams.
The Olympics, it's a sweet word, but it comes with pressure.
The Olympic Games are the pinnacle of sport, and they demand sacrifices from both sportspersons and those covering it. I'm Digvijay Singhdeo, and I will be tracking the best in sport over the next 3 weeks from here in Paris.
Can India's sporting stars double their tally from Tokyo? Will new stars emerge, or will sport's big names maintain their stranglehold? Watch Gunning for Glory through the Paris Olympics at these times on WION.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To Bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students. Send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
Economic turmoil and global unrest have cast a shadow over President Joe Biden's approval ratings.
The rockets are continuing to be fired by Hamas in Gaza, although at a slower rate than previously.
So, right now, we are with the volunteers from the Aleppo municipality. They are still trying to go to the rescue for the people they can find out.
India has emerged as a major diplomatic force at the world stage.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria continues to impact citizens from all walks of life.
The citizens of Gujarat witnessed a mega roadshow here in the city of Ahmedabad.
China is South Africa's largest trading partner for 134 years straight.
A domestic aircraft carrying 72 people on board crashed in Pokhara city in central Nepal.
165 injured have been moved. 61 people are confirmed dead and rescue operations continue around me.
After receiving an entire season's rainfall in a span of 48 hours, Chennai city has literally been brought to its knees.
For WION, World is One.
Hello, very warm welcome. You're watching Beyond World is One with me, Raisha Sehgal. There's lots to light upon the show, but first a quick check on the headlines. Israel's military claims it has killed Hezbollah's most senior commander, Fuad Shukr, in an airstrike on Beirut in retaliation for cross-border rocket attack that killed 12 youngsters in Golan Heights. United States carries out strike in Iraq in self-defense, hours after Israel strikes Iran-backed Hezbollah in Lebanon. Strike reportedly carried out due to threat to US-led coalition forces. Venezuelan armed forces and police detain demonstrators in capital as demonstrations continue against President Maduro's poll victory. Demands grow to publish full results of the elections. Violent clashes break out in northern England's Southport after mass stabbing at Taylor Swift-themed dance event claimed the lives of 3 children. Crowd damages police vehicles and set it alight. Bloomberg poll shows Democrats Kamala Harris gaining ground against Republican Donald Trump in 6 of the 7 swing states after President Biden drops out of the race for the White House. Death toll due to landslides in Kerala's Wayanad district rises to 151. Search and rescue operations continue for the second day as 98 people are still missing. Total 481 rescued so far. Helicopters deployed to battle the Nixon fire raging in Riverside County in the United States, California. But rough terrain and high temperatures are challenging efforts. Over 2,700 acres burnt in the wildfire. Simone is now a 5-time gold medalist. The gymnastics grade guide USA to a dominant victory in the women's gymnastics team final. Italy wins silver medal while Brazil takes bronze. And our top focus on WION right now. Thousands of people have taken to the streets in Venezuela to demonstrate against what they call President Nicolas Maduro's fraudulent election win. The demonstrations, which the government denounced as an attempted coup, began after the election board declared on Monday that Maduro had won a 3rd term with 51% of votes. However, the opposition says that 80% of vote tallies to which it has access shows its contestant Edmundo Gonzalez had more than twice as many votes as Maduro.
No aceptamos el chantaje